Howdy, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to All Things Division 3 Soccer. I am Simple Coach, and that there is Jackie. She's sleeping. A little chill in the air, a little fallish on this day. This is being recorded on Thursday, and in this game or games of the week, it's for tomorrow, Friday the 22nd, Saturday the 23rd, and Sunday the 24th. So just those 3 days. I know today, Thursday, there's some games on. We've had already an action-packed week. I mean, Purple Raiders. Yeah, baby. Denison yesterday against John Carroll. Who'da thunk? The disappointing loss by Virginia Wesleyan. College of New Jersey handing it to Stevens 4-0. You just can't make it up. So today, before I get into the games for this weekend, I do have a couple things. Just the other day, or yesterday, I think it was Wednesday, I released the top 25 poll. Got a lot of feedback. Thanks. Just a reminder, it says of games as of ending Sunday. So I didn't include these games in the week. So for all of my Mount Union brethren out there, fear not. Assuming they take care of Hiram, which I think they should do, I am quite certain they will be on the top 25 ranking next week. But they got to take care of Hiram. The other thing, I don't know if you noticed. I don't know if you noticed the thumbnail. Driven by my chief marketing officer and the chief dog officer, are cutting edge. And so what did I do? I asked an AI machine to create my thumbnail because I am told that interesting thumbnails get you more views. I don't know if it's more interesting, but it's AI generated since everybody's hype on that. So, all right, without sort of going down rabbit holes that no one really cares about, let's talk about the games for this weekend. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday. On the women's side, there's only one game that has my interest tomorrow, and that is Battle of Texas. 4-1-2 Texas Lutheran is traveling to 4-0 Mary Hardin Baylor, and I think that could be quite the matchup. So that's my game for tomorrow. On Saturday, there's a bunch of different games. Really interesting. Wisconsin lacrosse at 7-0 plays Christopher Newport, who is 8-0. It'll be an interesting test, I think, for Wisconsin lacrosse. But I do think it could be quite the game. Really interesting. Another game that's interesting, 4-0-1 Washington and Lee, that I'm kind of high on, having watched. Faces 5-2 Bridgewater. So intrastate game. And then another game that's really interesting, Battle of 5-0-1s. Swarthmore travels to Franklin and Marshall. So I think those 4 games. But if I'm going, or 3 games, but if I am going to pick the game I am going to watch, it's 4-3 Misericordia versus 5-2 Messiah. Messiah with 2 tough losses. I think this match will really drive, I don't want to say the rest of the season, but sort of the direction of which way these teams will go. In particular, again, in particular, Messiah, who comes off of 2 tough losses. They need a good win, and so this would be it. And Misericordia, I think, wanting to get up to elite level, I think this is the game that they would need to take. So watch, it'll be a tie. And then Sunday, the games that really stuck out to me, I'm looking at a trap match here. Carnegie Mellon travels to Baldwin Wallace. Carnegie Mellon obviously undefeatable at 7-0, and Baldwin Wallace at 4-2-1. It's not an easy BW is not an easy place to play. Playing in that stadium is not an easy place to play. So we'll see how Carnegie Mellon handles that. I think another trap match, 7-0-1 Case travels to 4-2-1 Capital. I think Capital is not, again, not an easy place to play. So I think that's going to be an interesting one. NESCAC game, that's worthwhile. 3-1-2 Bowdoin, Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain School, faces off against the 4-0-1 Williams Eves. So that's an interesting one. And then another one, and I think it could be a matchup. 4-2 St. Elizabeth travels to 6-2-1 Wilson College. I think that could be quite the matchup if you're looking for something off the beaten path. But the game I would go to, I think, is I would take a look at 3-2-1 Pacific Lutheran. Traveling to Linfield, who is 3-1-2. So that could be quite the battle, quite the contest. So and that's the only ones that really stood out to me. So if you're looking for games on the women's side, Friday, Texas Lutheran at Mary Hardin Baylor, Saturday, Misericordia at Messiah, and then Sunday, Pacific Lutheran at Linfield. So now let's turn to the men's side. There's a bunch of, I have a number of really interesting games. I think the calendar looks a little bit more competitive right now on the men's side. So, yeah. So Friday, there's really 3 games that I'm keeping an eye on. Mary Hardin Baylor, 2-2-1, travels to Trinity at 4-0-2. Staying in Tejas, Concordia at 1-3-2 goes to Southwestern at 3-0-3. And then the only game that really matters. No, this is more of a personal one. I'll be watching Mount Union take on Hiram. Mount Union obviously 7-0 after those killer wins against Case Western, and who did they play? I should know this. I don't. Whatever, it slipped my mind. They're looking to go 8-0, and Hiram 3-4-1. This would be a trap game in my book. Like, just 2 emotional wins. Really. Hiram could be an upsetter here, so they just need to be aware. So that's a personal one. But if I'm going to pick the game I'm going to watch, I'm going with Concordia 1-3-2 at Southwestern at 3-0-3. Saturday, bunch of games that look really interesting. Colby at William. NESCAC kicks off, is still kicking off, but 3-0-1. Colby goes to look to upset undefeatable Williams, stands at 5-0. Third in the country in the Simple Coach Top 25 ratings. Who'da thunk? I have Bowdoin 4-0-1, faces off at Middlebury at 4-0-1. I have Occidental 6-1, travels to the Redlands. I think this could be the sleeper game of the day. You have Lynchburg at Roanoke. Lynchburg 6-1, Roanoke 2-4-1. You have Rowan at Keene, an NJAC. A shout out to Dante East at a goal scoring machine at Keene. Rowan is 2-1-4. Looking to match Williams last year, and Keene is 5-0-3. So this is a NESCAC game, so brass knuckles are allowed. Unfortunately, this next game is pay-per-view conference. So Scranton 5-0-1 faces off against Elizabethtown 2-2-2. A Liberty League showdown, very worthwhile. RPI 3-1-2 versus St. Lawrence at 2-2-2. The Marvin Sabanda-less St. Lawrence that is looking to find its sea legs. So I think that's going to be quite the matchup. An interesting one in my book. Nazareth 6-0-1. I see you, Nazarenes. No, I don't know what your logo is. I can't think of it off the top of my head. Face Hartwick 4-2-1 at Hartwick. So, can Nazareth, go set, take a road points. Another NJAC fisticuffs here. College of New Jersey 2-5-1. Faces Ramapo at 2-2-2. Again, NJAC brass knuckles are permissible. I will say I actually have 4 games that are must watches. So I have, fortunately, as you see, I have 5 screens. So the fact that I have 4 games to go, if they're all at the same time, it's not going to be so bad. So the John Carroll at Calvin. That's who Mount Union beat. So Mount Union beat Calvin, and then they beat Case Western. So Calvin's looking to get back, I think, to their winning ways, and I'm high on those guys. I do think they're good, despite the stumbles. So John Carroll, just lost last night to Denison 2-1, which was kudos to Denison, which I think plays great soccer. So, and obviously John Carroll, it was quite the match having watched it. But Calvin at 6-2. So. John Carroll at Calvin. So I think John Carroll really needs to sort of shake off Denison and show what they're worth. And Calvin needs a good statement victory, and I think this could be it. Stevens Ducks, shout out to Adam Barakow, extraordinary midfielder, plays the right way, and goal scoring machine. Apparently he scores goals too. Stevens 3-1-2 travels to University of Paywall, Rochester, who's 5-0-1. Unfortunately, if you're not willing to pay to watch the game, it's behind, you guessed it, a paywall. So, but that's on my radar. And then Denison, fresh off the win against John Carroll, 6-0-1. Travels up to Cleveland to face 5-1-1 Case Western. So I think that's going to be a pretty much a cracker game. But if I'm picking one, that because I have to, and Shout out to Falcons Nation. I may even try to make it there. I don't know. Mary Washington, 6-0, ranked number 1, at least on the Simple Coach Top 25, faces or travels to Mechanicsburg to visit Messiah, who stands at 6-0-1 after a tie with Salisbury. I think this is going to be. This is it. This is going to be the game. So, okay, Sunday. Just have 4. Another NESCAC. Colby at Amherst. Colby 3-0-1. I think in some of the polls, I don't know if it's the soccer coaches or it's Massey. I don't know. Colby is ranked. So in the top 25, I don't have them there, but I've noticed. So they're 3-0-1. They travel to Mammoth Country at Amherst, 4-0-1. Another NESCAC, Bates 2-3. This is a trap match. Travels to Middlebury stands at 4-0-1. And then Southwestern at 3-0-3 travels to Mary Hardin Baylor at 2-2-1 for a Texas showdown. But if I'm going with the game, pick a game on Sunday, I'll stick with the NESCACs. 4-0-1 Bowdoin travels to Williams 5-0. This could be quite the matchup again. Williams rolling along. Just to rehash, that's it for the games for this weekend. But so on the men's side, men's highlight games that I'll be watching. Friday, I'm going with Concordia at Southwestern. Saturday, I have 3 games. John Carroll at Calvin, Stevens at Rochester, University of Paywall, and then Denison travels to Case. But then the matchup that matters, I think, Mary Washington travels to Messiah. And then on Sunday, I will be tuned into Bowdoin at Williams. And then again on the ladies' side, Texas Lutheran at Mary Hardin Baylor on Friday. Misericordia at Messiah on Saturday. And then Pacific Lutheran at Linfield. And if you're looking for a couple of additional games on Saturday, Wisconsin Lacrosse and Christopher Newport. Washington and Lee at Bridgewater, and Swarthmore at Franklin and Marshall. All right, so that covers it for my games of the weekend, and hope you enjoy. Hope you're having a great time watching some outstanding soccer being played in probably what I think is the most competitive D3 landscape that I've seen in the last few years, right? It seems like nobody wants the top spot, and they're having to fight and compete, and because teams are not rolling over, right? And I think that's really, really healthy. And like I said, I think there's just the quality seems to be at a different level more broadly across multiple teams. So have a wonderful weekend. Many blessings from Simple Coach HQ. Jackie has nothing to say. So we'll see you soon.